G'day guys, back again, video number 2. But I guess the times dictate it, so I'm going to have a crack anyway. I'll add a couple of little phone clips at the end of this video. You're going to have to apologise. I let out a couple of swear words in them, but I'll give you a bit of a lead up. So I've got a friend that I've been witnessing to for 2 years. I've taken her through the whole process of, what you need to do to be saved, etc. It's been fairly softcore, but I have hit her fairly hard with information pertaining to the vaccine. So it's everybody's choice what they want to do, yada yada yada, we start out that way. But then I added some of the, scientific information, some worldwide testimonies of adverse reactions, etc., etc. And this it's been a long process, probably 18 months. And this reminds me very much, although it's contextually different, about Jesus when he was talking about sowing seeds, falling on the various types of ground. So for 18 months I've been sowing seeds of information about where we are in the medical world. And for the most part, it's been received well and agreed upon. I can't really think of a better word, but it's been received well. But then all of a sudden yesterday, and I have permission to say this, all of a sudden yesterday, for no real reason, one of my friends just decided it would be really cool to go out and do the thing. That's interesting too, in End Times prophecy they talk about the rider with the bow, and when you look at the Greek, bow is an arrow's implied, and the word's toxon, from the poison that you put on the tip of a poison arrow. There's a symbolism there, some pricking and jabbing and poison. And anyway, so they thought it'd be great, just why not, something to do today. We're bored, we'll go out and get our first intervention. So this has only really been the first time that I've had any access to anybody who's decided a particular course of medical intervention. So I should be apologising to my friend, because my initial reaction was to hit her with 2 hours of ranting and raving about why didn't you listen to me and what do you think you're doing and all that sort of stuff. Anyway, we got past all that and I calmed down and I decided, hey, let's use the opportunity to do a couple of tests that I've seen done on the internet. Now, mate, I've got no agenda in this. Dudes, dudesses, mates, whatever. I've got no agenda in this whatsoever. I'm not caring too much. Well, I do, but people's choices are people's choices. You give them the information, they don't take it, then this is where they end up. So I've got no reason to be spreading any fake information. And this was done ad hoc, just before my friend was leaving. I thought, ooh, opportunity. Let's get the, those, I can't remember what they're called, those sticky things that you stick to metal. You know what I mean. They just stick to metal. Ferrous type metals. Anyway, I had one of those things, and so I got it out, and sure enough, here we go. I couldn't believe it. I thought I was seriously imagining things. Now, it reminds me also of a video I watched yesterday by Danny again, where I think it was an old one, and he was wandering around, and he was pondering, whether he was actually sane or not. He'd wake up in the morning, have his shower, go for a wander and think, man, is this really happening or not? So I've been going through a lot of that, but it is happening. There's no doubt about it. We are somewhere, and we do need to use... These glasses will not stay on. We do need to use discernment and just use our eyes for a little bit and ask ourselves, what is it worldwide that is being pushed on somebody like, that talks about the three-number bit, end times, yada yada. So is there anything in the world right now that's like that? Yes, there is. Can we say scripturally that it isn't the mark of old mate? Yeah, we can, because, there's supposed to be a revelation of him first. But can this turn into the mark of old mate? Sure can. Why not? Stands to reason that things are put into play in a gradual way, so that then, as legislation changes and powers change, things can be forced. So, I've been a naughty boy, ranting and raving, the old mate, and but out of that, I'll show you a couple of clips. Like I said, sorry about a couple of swear words. I was pretty hyped up, out of concern and worry and disbelief that 18 months of seed sowing could just be fobbed off by one of her silly friends who just decided that the best thing to do would be, nothing to do today, let's go. You just get it in. Anyway, so, I don't know, where do we go from here? Like, it creates all these really worrying scenarios. For example, if this isn't old mate's three numbers, then, yeah, that's not such a concern then. But if it is, where Jesus says about everybody, turning against everybody, father against son, and people are handing you over, if it is, that means that you've intervened friends are the ones that could potentially turn you over. And like, that's a scary thought. I explained all this to my friend in my rant because, I'm always going to put God first and what I think is happening above friends and all sorts of things. I think we're going to need to some degree. But if the rapture is going to happen before all this, we'll be fine. But as I talked about in my video yesterday, it hasn't happened yet. Not to say it's not going to, but it hasn't. And this is starting to look like the beginning of a... Oh no, it's this window on my glasses, sorry. This is starting to look like the beginning of a nasty period that could go on for, I don't know, 7 years maybe. So, as I said yesterday, hope for the best, prepare for the worst kind of scenario. Now, if you're a rapture person, you're waiting for the rapture, etc., etc. I've had a few comments on a video that was sort of suggestive that that's leading people down the wrong path. Well, no, it isn't. And it's like this, if you believe in a rapture and it doesn't happen, but you've got your faith in Christ, you're saved, then because the rapture hasn't come, this doesn't take away your salvation that you got given during the dispensation of grace. And if you don't believe there's going to be a rapture and you're a saved Christian just with a slightly different view, then what's the worst that can happen? You get a free plane ride that you weren't expecting, okay? But you're still saved. So it's a bit divisive to worry too much about. Well, it's not divisive to look and be concerned whether there is going to be a rapture or not, because it tells us to do that. But it's divisive when people decide definitively one way or the other, they won't budge, and you get a doctrinal divide. That's ridiculous, because at the end of the day, the thing we need to concentrate on is being saved, especially now. We don't need to be arguing about anything. This last 2 years has been a big wake-up for me. I've been backslidden for a long time, and I've had I've done everything pretty much. I first got saved when I was about 25, a fair while ago. But I've always, even back then, I was a watchman. Good old Barry Smith, Eye in the Triangle, and all this sort of stuff. His series of books, and they were great. They inspired me to start with. I think he's dead now, old Barry. But nonetheless, as somebody who backslid, this has slapped me fair in the face. I mean, there is no denying where we're at. You simply cannot deny birth pains. And if you're silly enough to, you can have a baby in the taxi on the way to hospital. The water's heating up, the frogs aren't jumping out. And it's happening to my friends, my family. There's only me left, I think, other than a few aunties who haven't decided that they prefer the scientific, let's say scientific community, but like pseudo-scientific people, or maybe scientific people with an agenda, that kind of community, I don't know. Not real science, and just a simple look at, the governmental adverse reaction sites shows us that something's not right. Nothing has ever been pushed on the entire world population everywhere all at once. So I can ring up some Zulu person in Africa, and you go, hey, what about the vaccine? And if I ring up India, they go, hey, I want to buy a curry rug, here's a vaccine first. Everybody's waving their arms around about a vaccine. Everybody, worldwide. Wouldn't matter where you phoned. So randomly, pick a country, phone, say, hello, any vaccine mandates in your country yet? No, but they're on the way. Everywhere. Now, that's never happened before, because of political differences between countries and religious differences between countries. The world's never been united in an attempt to get everybody to do a specific thing. Now, I haven't done many videos before. I don't know if anything I'm saying is going to get me booted off, and I don't really care. Because, it's just too obvious now. Gone is the softly approach. My partner had a bit of a rant at me today about my rant to my friend. But I explained to her that, when you see a train, somebody on the tracks of the train, and the train's coming and it's like a kilometre down the road, you go, hey, dude, get off the train, you goose, you're going to get run over. He stays there and you just look at him, thinking he'll get off. 500 metres away the train is. Hey, dude, did you hear me? That train's coming. Still there. Hey, mate, the train's coming 250 metres away. So you're getting a little bit more aggressive with your approach to this dude because the train's coming quicker. Right, well, mate, the train is about 2 foot away. There isn't any time for softly anymore. You've got to jump in there, boot those people off the tracks, and tell them what's going on afterwards. I'm finding it very, very difficult to find a softly approach with this at the moment, simply because there isn't the time. Like half an hour can make the difference between somebody getting, or not. At this moment, that's how critical that our decisions are. I don't think we can be too soft about things. The time's gone for that. And it's something else too. I was looking at the book of Thessalonians last night, and I was reflecting on the words that are in that book, where it said, the dead will arise in Christ. The dead will arise first, and those of you who remain and are alive will be caught up with them. Now, I got to thinking. So we've got dead people that are going to arise first, and then those of you that are alive and remain after what? Why are we stipulating alive and remain as if to say, let me rephrase it, the dead, okay, let me say it in a completely different way, and I'll add words in. And now I'm not taking a stance on the rapture, pre, middle, post, like I've always been pre. That's where I'm still leaning, but as we get closer, you've got to look so as not to be taken by surprise at the views of others. Now, let's listen to those words, and I'll say them differently. The dead in Christ will arise first. And those of you that have managed to survive the terrible 7 years of tribulation and remain alive shall be then taken up. Is there necessarily, could we read a gap into the dead arising first? And then the alive people go, but that doesn't necessarily mean at the same time, perhaps, I don't know. Because there seems to be a real distinction that's being made there, that if you're alive and remain. Now, it's quite obvious we're talking about Jesus coming. So the dead people are going to go, arise first. And then logic would dictate, well, we're talking about now the people that aren't dead. So you'd say, first the dead will go, and then the living will go. But those of you that, it's kind of like those of you that are still alive and remain after all that, I don't know. I'm just throwing stuff out there. I'd love some comments. Let me know what you think. No point attacking me in any of the comments. No point attacking anybody else who comments. We're tossing out information. Any kind of attacks that continue and sort of get personal, they're just divisive. They're not going to do anything. I'm happy to be wrong if I'm wrong. There isn't any point calling me an idiot or whatever. I'm just going to block you anyway. This isn't the forum where we need to be arguing. This is simply a forum where we're going to share information and get to where we need to get. And if that's swallowing some humble pie for some or all of us or whatever, then we're going to have to do it. It's that simple. Our life depends on it, our salvation. Or the lives of our friends, I'm pretty certain my salvation's okay. So I'll finish there. I've been quite non-specific about stuff. The verse I'm talking about in Thessalonians. I don't know. I think, as many of the other people out there watching, like Chooch and Tyler, Chad, all the off-griddy type people, heaps of, really good, larger ministry Christian sites. I think we all need to, we've all got our views. So long as we're sure of our salvation, I think at this particular time, to be 100% dogmatic and blind-eyed to the possibility of something else, that's only going to be detrimental. In fact, Satan will use that. So don't let yourself be destroyed through lack of knowledge. And lack of knowledge can come through having a dogmatic attitude and not being prepared to see the other side, or even look. Anyway, that's all I've got to say. I'll see if I can clip in that phone clips of my friend with a magnet. God bless everybody. Keep watching for the signs. These are difficult times. And I can't say that I'm enjoying them for sure. You know, definitely some comfort to be had in scripture verses as to what's going to befall us, but we're yet to determine exactly where we fall in this timeline. And there's an element of fear associated with that. Fear that you may have to see people go through things that you know they shouldn't go through. There are all sorts of fears for varying types of different people. I know we're supposed to put on our spiritual armour and we feel strong in the Lord, confident that He's already defeated Satan. But none of us has seen this happen before. We're treading on, we're treading on ground where nobody's been, and when push comes to shove, it's all right to say, yeah, no worries, if somebody was going to shoot my partner, I'd jump in front of the bullet, but when the time comes, would you? So, you have that element going on in people's psyche where we're getting pushed to a point where we're having to say, would I? Maybe I'm going to have to make this choice or that choice now, whereas before it was a fantasy, it was for a generation to come or for us when we were old, and now all of a sudden we're faced with the possibility of having to make really difficult decisions that I'm not enjoying. Anyway, next time.